Okay, so we're going to talk about water pollution. Now, you're probably wondering, how does this affect me and how's it going to affect me in the future and all that jazz. You don't need to worry about that. What we need to talk about is what it's doing right now. Okay, Lake Washington example. Okay, in the 1950s, all these people, all these corporations and companies started dumping a bunch of wastewater inside Lake Washington, and they didn't think it did much, but what it actually did was it induced the growth of an algae that built up over many years and eventually rotted and fouled the air and polluted the water. And you're probably thinking, oh well, we can clean it, but you need to spend thousands of dollars to clean this, and that's money that quite simply we don't have. What's causing all this pollution? Well, there are many types of pollution, and it basically boils down to two categories. You got point source pollutions and you got non-point source pollution. You're probably wondering, what the heck are those? Well, point source pollutions, they come from a certain area. For example, if you got a plant somewhere over there, okay, so we got waste coming from that plant.
What is non-point source water pollution? When most people hear water pollution, they think of large pipes coming from cities and industries that release water into rivers, lakes, and streams. Today, these pipes aren't our biggest threat to clean water. Instead, we need to work on the most important source of water pollution, the water that flows over fields, lawns, parking lots, and even our own backyards. This water carries oils, chemicals, animal waste, and soil into our waterways. This is called non-point source pollution, and it's a big problem for all of us.
What the heck are we doing to stop this, to put an end to all this monstrosity that's going on? But 1970s, we got some laws going down to clean up, help restore streams in the world and rivers and lakes and all that. And it's working, but quite frankly, we need more people to start contributing, and that's why communities have been playing a huge role in the cleaning of streams and rivers in the world. In fact, that 2 decades ago, out of the 500 rivers in the world approximately, over half of them are polluted. And once the community starts getting in on this, everybody starts getting in, see that right there? It becomes a group effort, and we can clean all this water up. Let's talk about groundwater for a second. Okay, there's different types of water, and groundwater is a huge part of water. So we get most of our drinking water actually from groundwater on a global scale. Not only the U.S., this applies to China. 70% of China's drinking water comes from ground reservoirs, and 90% of drinking water in the U.S. in rural areas comes from groundwater reservoirs as well. So when we're polluting all this stuff, with leaky gas tanks and all that, we're hurting the environment. We're hurting our drinking water, and in fact, nobody batted an eye to this pollution for the longest of times. And in fact, in 1974, the EPA, which was the Environmental Protection Agency, they started creating drinking water standards. And what that did was that kind of, obviously it set a standard for, the water that is to be drank and how it should be, purified, and the steps that it should go through before it's deemed worthy of being consumed by humans and animals, I guess, too. But let's talk about the economic impact of this water pollution. Now, one leaky little gas tank can cost $10,000 to $250,000 United States dollars to fix, and $10,000 being the lowest. Like for a little crack in the thing that caused just a little tiny seepage, $10,000, boom. And we don't have that kind of money. The country's in a deficit. We can't just magically materialize multiple sets of $250,000 to fix 10,000 leaky gas tanks in the United States. Now, this is a problem that we're aware of, and this is a problem that we've actually been working on for the past decade. We've actually fixed over 300,000 leaky gas tanks in the last 10 years, and that has cost the United States a lot of money. And China too, probably. They're probably fixing their leaky gas tanks as well. But we're talking about the United States here, America. Okay. Now, this is a problem. We can fix these gas tanks, but instead of fixing it, why don't we prevent it? Now, there's some stuff we can do to aid in the preventing of having these gas tanks become leaky in the first place. For example, you can attach a sensory monitor that it monitors when the gas tanks become faulty, and somebody can get in there and change it. An engineer, beep bop boop. You know what I'm saying? And then you can. I mean, that could be pretty pricey too, but obviously less pricey than spending $250,000 to completely replace and fix the whole thing. And in addition, it prevents the leakage in the first place, which you actually have to deal with. Spending that money to fix the gas tank, that's one thing, but you also have to account for the fact that you have to spend money to fix the, if you can even, damaged environment. And this pollution can go into homes too. It doesn't just pollute the aquifers underground and the groundwater reservoirs, but this stuff goes up into homes, and this stuff creates health problems for people. Now let's talk about coastal areas, all right? Coastal pollution. So coastal pollution is a huge problem. Over 80%, well, maybe less, approximately a large percentage of people in the world live on or near coastal areas or by some type of large body of water or something. Now this is a problem because those areas bear the brunt of pollution from all sources. It doesn't matter where, because everything comes around and goes around on the earth and eventually comes back and boom, hits them all at once.
The backdrop is iconic. The beaches are world famous, but Rio's waters are dirty and polluted through a combination of poor sanitation and a lack of public awareness. The very waters in which Olympic sailing events in 2016 will be taking place. For British Olympic hopefuls like Dylan Fletcher and Alan Syne, it's a dilemma. They want as much practice time here as they can get, but each time they go out, they run the risk of falling ill or of colliding with objects just under the surface.
No, I was ill just before Christmas. I don't know what it could have been from the capsize that we had, or it could have been something that I ate, but I mean, you probably wouldn't want to drink it.
Obstacles in the water are really bad, and you do notice it a lot. You have to stop a couple of times a race, or they cost you several places. So that's the most frustrating part, when you actually see yourself losing places.
And this is what pours into the bay every day. Tons of raw sewage and rubbish from a city of 10 million people. Rio's geography doesn't help, with all of these rivers flowing into what is essentially one big cesspit. But as the city grows, environmentalists say there's simply not enough political will to fix the problem.
Das 7 unidades de tratamento de rios, só uma.
Here we are just 30 months from the Olympics, and of the 7 promised river treatment projects, just one is operational, says biologist Mario Moscatelli. The authorities know what the problem is, but for some reason they're delaying this vital work. Most of the rivers coming into Guanabara Bay are dead, completely lifeless. The water is full of stinking sewage. These mangroves are full of the detritus of everyday life. Yet the only apparent response to this is the equivalent of putting a sticking plaster on a terminally ill patient. The state government is deploying 10 of these so-called eco-boats in the bay to scoop up rubbish just below the surface. Televisions, dead animals and thousands of plastic bags have been pulled from the water.
The Olympic Games is a great opportunity to improve all the system that we need, the people need in Rio de Janeiro. So, of course, that in 2016, the condition will be much better than now.
The recovery of these once pristine mangroves and the return of life to the bay will surely take more than cosmetic efforts to scoop up rubbish from the water. And for aspiring Olympic sailors, whether to spend even more time training in Guanabara Bay is a tough decision to make. Woodrow Davis, BBC News, Rio de Janeiro.
Now, this is a problem. This is a huge problem because, well, it's vast. All the water is vast, and it's hard to kind of regulate and clean up all this, pollution that's going on. So, you know, what types of pollutants are. Well, huge pollutant factors include, well, most 80% of them start on land, okay? And then you got the 20% that kind of just happens in water. And it's like, you know, it's like, oh, you know, dang. But let's talk about the land pollution first.
Here are some of the more common causes of non-point source pollution. Over-applying fertilizer, herbicides, and pesticides on plants, leaving oils, grease, salt, and other chemicals on parking lots, roads, sidewalks, and other hard surfaces, allowing loose soil to be washed away by the rain, leaving pet waste on the ground, not maintaining septic systems.
Let's talk about estuaries. 4 out of 5 estuaries are threatened in the world because of this pollution that's going on. You know, plastic pollution and garbage and all that junk. A plastic, you know, we just dispose of on the daily. We don't think anything of it. We just toss out our garbage and like, oh, you know, it's probably going to go to landfill or something like that. But in actuality, what happens is in most cases, it ends up somehow in an ocean somewhere or a lake somewhere around, you know, a little baby turtle's neck or something. You choke in the baby turtle, and you're gonna have dead baby turtles everywhere. You don't want dead baby turtles everywhere.
The arms of the